So we will start our endocrine system, but we will not go. We will not initiate. We will not initiate the endocrine system with the major topics. With the major topics like the glucocorticoids, sorry, this corticosteroids or the drug used for the diabetes mellitus and this anti-thyroid drug. Very simple topics. Very simple topics for which there's no necessary to read about to learn. There's no necessary to know much more about physiology or this anatomy. Though there is some requirement, but we will try to cover part of the physiology and the anatomy also while we are going through this topic. Okay, so we will discuss on the topic hormone. So hormone. So when the endocrine system, when we see the endocrine system, that means the hormone. That's we are dealing with the physiology or the anatomy. That is the anatomy. That is the hormone. Okay, so growth hormone. So this topic will be the growth hormone. Okay, growth hormone. So what is the growth hormone? Okay. By name we can understand that hormone. What is the growth hormone? Okay, so growth hormone is the hormone. Simple language we can say that the growth hormone is the hormone we produced and released in the human body for the growth of the body, for the growth of the body. In simple language, we can say that is the growth hormone. Okay, I will repeat it again. What is growth hormone? Growth hormone, in simple language, we can say that is the hormone which is produced or secreted and released in the human body for the physiological function that is called the for the growth of the body, for the growth development of the body. We can say for the growth and the development of the body. Okay. We can say the for the growth of the body. Okay. So when we see the when the terms comes there, the growth, what is that? Okay, growth means increase in the size of the muscle mass, increase in the size of the muscle mass, or increase in the height, increase in the height. Okay, increase in the size of the muscle mass and the height. That is generally called the growth. Okay, discuss about the growth hormone in detail in this topic. Now, simple introduction of the growth hormone, from where the growth hormone is, where hormone is produced and where the growth hormone is released and why the growth hormone is necessary. In brief, we will discuss about the introduction. So what is the hormone? Growth hormone is the peptide hormone. Growth hormone is the peptide hormone. It's anterior pituitary hormone. That means we have discussed about earlier about the pituitary gland. There are two types, two lobes of the pituitary glands are there, and lobe and the posterior lobe. Anterior lobe secretes the growth hormone. Anterior lobe release the growth hormone. Anterior lobe release the growth. Okay, anterior lobe produced and release the growth hormone. Okay, in posterior lobe we have discussed about that earlier. What is the posterior? Two hormones are secreted from the posterior lobe. They are the vasopressin and the oxytocin. Vasopressin and the oxytocin. Why the most of the hormone, all of the remaining all of the hormone, they are produced by the anterior lobe of the pituitary, anterior lobe of the pituitary gland, like the thyroid stimulating hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone. These are the other hormones which are also secreted, which are also produced and secreted by the anterior pituitary lobe. Okay, so growth hormone is a peptide hormone. That means a protein. It contains the protein. Peptide hormone, amino acids. It contains the amino acids, small proteins and the amino acids. So, and they are secreted and released from the anterior pituitary lobe. Okay, they are also called somatotropin. Growth hormone is also called the somatotropin. Growth hormone is also called the somatotropin. What is the physiological function of the growth hormone? The physiological function of growth hormone is they are required during the child and they are required during the childhood and they are required during the childhood and adolescent for the attainment of the growth. Okay, required during the childhood and for the attainment of the growth. When we say the childhood, generally according to the WHO, less than 10 years, more than 1 year and the less than 10 years. Childhood generally according to WHO, more than 1 year to 10 years, that is called children, that's called the children, and adolescent 10 to 19 years, to 11 to 19 years, that is adolescent. So where generally the growth hormone is secreted, in high amount during the childhood or when the children. Okay, and reaches the maximal at puberty, and further decline with the aging. Okay, so generally the maximum growth hormone is released in children, and the maximum peak during the puberty and at the time of the puberty, and the further it declines after we can say further decline with the aging. Okay, somatotropin is the commercially prepared growth hormone. Somatotropin is a commercially prepared growth hormone. That is a recombinant form of the growth hormone. So I will repeat it again. So growth hormone is a peptide hormone which is secreted and released from the anterior pituitary lobe, okay, of the pituitary gland. They are also called the somatotropin. The somatotropin, the physiological role of the growth hormone is for the growth of and the adolescent during the childhood and the for the attainment of the growth during the childhood and adolescent. The secretion of the growth hormone is generally high in children, and it reaches maximal during the puberty, at the puberty, and decline and further decline with the aging. Is a commercially prepared recombinant form of the growth hormone. Okay, secretion of the growth hormone, physiological release, production of the secretion of the growth hormone. Okay, we will see here. Okay, see here. This is the schematic diagram. This one is the schematic diagram. This one is the schematic diagram for the production and the release of the growth hormone. Okay, for the production and the release of the growth hormone. Okay, hypothalamus. This portion is the hypothalamus. This portion is the hypothalamus. Okay, and this one is the anterior pituitary lobe. This one anterior pituitary lobe, and they are the target tissue. They are the target tissues for the target tissues for the growth hormone. Okay. So physiologically, the growth hormone is released in the human body during the childhood and the adolescent. Physiological growth hormone is released in the human body during the childhood and the adolescent. Okay. So before growth hormone, so growth hormone release hormone. Okay. So there is a stimulation of the neurosecretory cells of the hypothalamus, at the hypothalamus. Stimulation of the neurosecretory cells at the hypothalamus. So there will be the release of the production and the release of the growth hormone releasing hormone. Growth hormone releasing hormone. Okay. So growth hormone releasing hormone through the hypophyseal tract. Hormone releasing hormone through the hypophyseal tract. They reaches to the anterior pituitary lobe. They reach to the anterior pituitary lobe. Can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So they reaches to the anterior pituitary lobe. So in anterior pituitary lobe, they stimulates the somatotroph cells. They stimulate the somatotroph cells. They stimulate the somatotroph cells which are present in the anterior pituitary lobe. So stimulation of the by stimulation of the somatotroph cells of the anterior pituitary lobe, they secretes the growth hormone. Okay. Now the growth hormone, enters into the circulation, and then they stimulates the or they bind to their respective receptors which are present in bone, adipocytes, and the muscles. This is the directly stimulate the receptors present in the liver, bone, adipocytes, and the muscles. So by stimulating the receptor present in the liver, bone, adipocyte, and the muscle, this is the muscle growth, the bone growth, this is the adipocyte tissues growth. Okay, we will discuss about in the coming slide how they कसरी हुन्छ भनेर हैन, but this is just a schematic diagram. Okay, so this is the direct action on the target tissue. Okay, and also the liver, including on the liver release the insulin growth factor, insulin-like growth factor 1. Now this insulin-like growth factor, they have the indirect effect on the secondary target tissue. The secondary target tissues are the same: bone, adipocyte, and the muscle. Predominantly the bone. Okay, and predominantly the bone, adipocyte, and the muscle. So there results the. So what will happen? The further action will be the anabolic effect. There will be the anabolic effect on the bone. You know about the anabolic effect? That's a differentiation of the cells and the growth. No, differentiation of the cells for the differentiation of the cells and the tissue which are required for. Okay, anabolic effect generally means the cellular differentiation which are required of the cellular and the tissue differentiation which are required for the growth of the body, growth of the muscles, or the growth of the bone. Okay, so this is the secondary target. These are the secondary target tissue. Okay. So what will happen sometimes when there should be the one negative feedback mechanism also. What is the negative feedback mechanism? So negative feedback mechanism is when this insulin growth factor it becomes the excessive, when it attains the excessive in the circulation. When the insulin-like growth factor 1, it attains the excessive concentration in the circulation, they send the signal to the hypothalamus and they send the signal to the anterior pituitary lobe to inhibit the further release of the growth hormone releasing hormone from the hypothalamus and the growth hormone from the anterior pituitary gland. Anterior pituitary gland. Okay. Okay. I will repeat it again. This mechanism is a very important mechanism. Growth hormone releasing hormone. Growth hormone releasing hormone. Okay. First, it will start from the hypothalamus. Okay. In hypothalamus, the stimulation of the physiological secretion of the growth hormone, the stimulation of the stimulation of the this secretory cells, secretory cells which are present in the hypothalamus. So there will be the production and the release growth hormone releasing hormone. Now the growth hormone releasing hormone through the hypophyseal tract that reaches to the anterior pituitary lobe. So they stimulate the somatotropes present in the anterior pituitary lobes, which will secrete and release the growth hormone. Then the growth hormone will be circulation, and they have direct action on the receptors which are present in the liver, adipocytes and the tissues, adipocyte and the muscles. So that will result the growth of the bone, will result the growth of the muscles, growth of the adipocyte tissue, and the indirect action through the release of the insulin-like growth factor 1, which is released from the liver because of the stimulation of the growth hormone. And now this insulin-like growth factor 1, they also further stimulates the receptors which are present in the bone, adipocytes and the muscles, that results the bone growth anabolic effect. That results the anabolic effect on the predominantly in the bone. This is required for the cellular differentiation of the cell differentiation for the growth for the muscle bone growth. Okay. So when the usually like growth factor attains the excessive concentration, they send the signal to the hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary lobe. So what will happen? They further inhibit the secretion and the release of the growth hormone releasing hormone and from the hypothalamus and the growth hormone from the anterior pituitary lobe. So this is the pathway. This is the pathway for the regulation. This is the mechanism for the regulation of the growth hormone. This is the mechanism for the regulation of the growth hormone. Is that clear? Any confusion? Okay. Other than this, we have to know about SST. What is the SST? SST is the somatostatin. That is called the somatostatin. You might have heard about the somatostatin. So they are what? Somatostatin is the growth hormone inhibitory hormone. Now the somatostatin is also, what's the role of the somatostatin? This somatostatin is also released from the hypothalamus. This somatostatin growth hormone inhibitory hormone. This is a growth hormone inhibitory hormone. So they have got this other than the insulin-like growth factor, produces the negative feedback mechanism. Somatostatin physiologically somatostatin also produces the negative feedback mechanism for the release of the growth hormone releasing hormone from the hypothalamus and the growth hormone from the anterior pituitary gland. Now, from where the somatostatin is released? Somatostatin is also called the growth hormone inhibitory hormone. Growth hormone inhibitory hormone is also physiologically produced from the neurosecretory cells of the hypothalamus, and through the hypophyseal tract that reaches to the anterior pituitary lobe, and from the anterior pituitary lobe this secretion of the somatostatin. Now the somatostatin also causes the release of the growth hormone releasing hormone from the hypothalamus and the growth hormone from the anterior pituitary lobe. Once the growth hormone, or I can say the insulin like growth factor attains the maximum concentration in the body. Okay. So this is the second negative feedback mechanism. And one other peptide hormone, that's called the ghrelin hormone. That's also called the hunger hormone, which is secreted by the stomach, GIT tract. That endocrine cells of the GIT tract, basically generally the stomach. So when it is released during the hunger, they stimulate the hunger. During the hunger. When the person is hungry, when the person feels the hunger, at the time there is excessive secretion of the ghrelin hormone. There is excessive secretion of the ghrelin hormone from the neuroendocrine cells of the stomach. So what is the role of the ghrelin? The role of the ghrelin is they stimulates the release of the pituitary lobe. Okay. The pathway, this we have already discussed about that secretion of the growth hormone. Now somatostatin like growth hormone provides the feedback to inhibit the growth hormone secretion. We have already discussed about that. Now what is the actions of the growth hormone? Okay. So we have already discussed that the action of the growth hormone at the level of the muscles. And what they do? They increases the protein synthesis. They increases the target tissue. They increases the protein synthesis and promotes the cellular uptake of the amino acid. They increases the protein synthesis and promotes the cellular uptake of the amino acid at the level of the muscle, which resulting the muscle growth, which resulting the muscle growth. Okay, now that is a direct effect. That is a direct effect. Growth hormone directly act over the muscles and the bone and the adipocyte. That results the increased protein synthesis and promotes the cellular uptake of the amino acid, resulting the muscle growth. Okay, indirect effect is also there. What is the indirect effect? By stimulating the liver, growth hormone stimulates the liver that release the insulin like growth factor. Now this insulin like growth factor, they act on the secondary target tissues, predominantly in the epiphyses of the long bone, epiphyses of the long bone, resulting the anabolic and the growth promotion. It's resulting the anabolic effect and the growth promotion. Okay, and the resulting the bone growth. Okay, that we have already discussed earlier. Okay, so number one action is the direct action is the muscle growth by directly acting on the muscles, resulting the increased protein synthesis and increased uptake of the amino acids, and the secondary effect is the second indirect effect is the anabolic effect of the predominant of the bone, resulting the growth promotion, predominantly at the epiphyses of the long bone, resulting the bone growth. Okay, so these are the action of the growth hormone in brief. Okay, should I continue that? Other than the growth, what is the other effect of the growth hormone? Okay, so there results the hyperglycemia. How they results the hyperglycemia? Okay, by producing the antagonist effect of the insulin. By producing the effect of growth hormone is the insulin. Effect of the growth hormone is antagonist to that of the insulin. Now, why it is called the antagonist? Opposite to that of the insulin. Okay, what is the role of the insulin? Okay, what is the role of the insulin? Role of the insulin in the liver and the peripheral tissue. Number one role in the insulin in the liver is the number one role of the insulin in the liver is the insulin. First of all, you have to know about the role of the insulin. So role of the insulin in the liver is the stimulates the hepatic gluconeogenesis. That means it stimulates the release of the glucose from the liver. And the second effect of the insulin is the it increases the reuptake of glucose by the peripheral tissues like the muscles and the adipose tissue. Okay, what is the role of the insulin? Basically, the role of the insulin is the role of the insulin the role of the is the number one is the the role of basically is the to clear the excessive glucose present in the blood. How it clears the excessive glucose present in the blood? Insulin, number one, by inhibiting the hepatic gluconeogenesis. Okay, that means it inhibits the release of the glucose from the liver, so it reduces the concentration of the glucose present in the blood when the excessive glucose is in the blood. Okay, and second is the by increasing the peripheral uptake of the glucose from the blood. What are the peripheral tissue? The peripheral tissues involved are the muscles and the adipose tissues. So by reuptaking the glucose present by the peripheral tissue, it reduces the concentration of the glucose present in the blood when excessive glucose present in the blood. That is the role of the insulin. Number one is the inhibition of the hepatic gluconeogenesis, and the number two is the enhances the peripheral reuptake of the enhances the peripheral reuptake of the glucose from the circulation of the plasma. Okay, now the effect of the growth hormone is antagonist to that of the insulin. That means it enhances the hepatic gluconeogenesis, and it reduces the peripheral reuptake of the glucose from the plasma. So overall effect will be the blood attains the excessive concentration of the glucose that results the hyperglycemia. Okay, I will repeat it again. The action of the growth hormone is the antagonist to that of the insulin. That is it enhances the hepatic gluconeogenesis. So what will happen? So excessive glucose will be released to the blood circulation, and it inhibits the peripheral reuptake of the glucose from the plasma. So what will happen? Peripheral tissues. So what will happen? So no. So when there's a reduction of that process, what will happen? The excessive glucose will be present in the plasma. So the overall effect will be the hyperglycemia. Hyperglycemia. That's called the diabetogenic effect. Okay. Any confusion?
No, sir.
Okay. So in brief, what is the action? In brief, what is the action? Is the number one is the protein synthesis. Protein synthesis at the level of the muscles by increasing the cellular reuptake of the amino acids, and the second is the by indirect effect insulin like growth factor by insulin like growth factor insulin like growth factor the we can say that anabolic effect of the bone that causes the bone growth, and the third is the antagonist effect of insulin, that is enhances the hepatic gluconeogenesis and the peripheral reuptake of the glucose by the peripheral tissue, resulting in the hyperglycemia. These three effects we have to remember. Okay. Should I continue?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now the indications. Number one is the short stature. Short stature. Growth. We know that the growth hormone is required for the We know that the growth hormone is required for the growth of the body. Okay. Stature during the children to achieve the normal adult height. Right? Short stature during the children to achieve the normal adult height. Okay. बच्चामा if the बच्चामा सानो हुँदा केही फरक पर्दैन, तर अलि ठुलो उमेर भइसकेपछि सानो भएपछि that may not well-being त्यस्तो के feeling हुन्छ. Okay, that's also short stature of the children to achieve the normal adult height. Okay, and the second is the growth hormone deficiency. When the this hypothalamus or the is not able to secrete or release the growth hormone releasing hormone, or we can say when the anterior pituitary lobe is not able to secrete release the growth hormone, the condition are the damage of the hypothalamus or the pituitary gland caused by the tumor, infection, or the radiation. Because of that, if there is a growth hormone deficiency in the body, so we need to give the growth hormone exogenously. So the objective of giving the growth hormone exogenously is to increase the lean body mass, improve the metabolic state, and the sense of the well-being. Okay, so growth hormone deficiency. When there is a condition growth hormone deficiency, which may happens because of the disease of the hypothalamus or the pituitary by the tumor, infection, or the radiation, resulting the decrease of the growth hormone releasing hormone from the hypothalamus, and the decrease production or the release of the growth hormone from the anterior pituitary lobe. So we need to give the growth hormone exogenously. So objective is to increase the lean body mass, improve the metabolic state, and the sense of the well-being. And the third is the Turner syndrome. Turner syndrome is a genetic disorder generally in the gall. So what is the 45X karyotype? That's called the 45X karyotype. You know that the 23 pairs of the chromosomes are there, and the 46 in number total. 46 in number. So 45 chromosome number 45 miss one X chromosome, that results the Turner syndrome. So what are the the hallmark features of the Turner syndromes are the short stature, wave neck. Okay, these are the hallmark. One of the hallmark features of the Turner syndrome is the short stature. Okay, so to increase the height of because of the short female, we need to give the growth hormone. Okay, so Turner syndrome is a disorder where there is the 45 number chromosome is missing one X chromosome, so that's called the Turner syndrome. Okay, it's a rare disease. It generally occurs. It's commonly occurs in the female. Okay, and one of the hallmark features is the short stature. So to increase the height of the girl in short Turner syndrome, there's a need to give the growth hormone exogenously. Okay, is that clear? Should I continue? Now the other indications are the Prader-Willi syndrome. Okay, these are the diseases which are associated with the short stature. These are the diseases which are associated with the short stature. Now, the Prader-Willi syndrome is an autosomal dominant disorder, genetic disorder. This is also the genetic disorder which is associated with the one of the hallmark features is the short stature. Growth failure. That's basically got the growth failure obesity and the intolerance to the carbohydrates. Okay, that is not necessary. Just remember the in Prader-Willi syndrome is autosomal. It is a genetic disorder which is associated with one of the hallmark features is the growth failure. So to increase the growth to increase the growth of the body or to increase growth of the body, there's a need to give the growth hormone exogenously. Okay, growth hormone is also approved by the Food and Drug Administration of USA for the wasting of the muscles in patient with the HIV/AIDS. In patient with the HIV/AIDS, that disease is called the AIDS-related wasting of the muscles. AIDS-related wasting of the muscle mass. To gain the muscle mass in AIDS-related wasting of the muscles, there's a necessity. The growth hormone is it is approved by the FDA, Food and Drug Administration of the America, in those patients. Okay, for the muscle gain. The objective is to attain the muscle gain in which type of the patient? AIDS related wasting of the muscles. Okay. Again, anabolic agent approved for the treatment of bone injury. So what happened in the bone injury? In bone injury, what happened here? You know that this protein synthesis, the growth hormone is that increases the protein synthesis. Okay, by the cellular rate of the amino acid. In bone injury, what is happening? The severe bone is there that results the denaturation of the protein. So to revive the muscles in the bone injury by the hormone that is called the cellular reuptake of the amino acid, this anabolic agent, which is approved for the cellular generation, proliferation. It causes the cellular proliferation. Okay, anabolic agent approved for the treatment of the bone injury, and the route of the administration is the subcutaneous route. The route of the administration of the growth hormone, which is given exogenously, is the subcutaneous. Okay, so overall, they are used for the treatment of to increase the height of the short stature, or to increase the muscle growth, like in the short. In case of the short stature, okay, growth hormone deficiency because of the disease of the hypothalamus or the pituitary gland. Okay, Turner syndrome, it is also associated with the growth hormone, the growth failure. Prader-Willi syndrome, it is also associated with the growth failure. Okay. AIDS-related wasting of the muscles. Okay, for the bone injury, to gain the muscle and the route of the administration is the subcutaneous route. Okay. Should I continue? Now the adverse drug reaction generally well tolerated. Okay, adverse drug reaction generally well tolerated. Okay, generally they are well tolerated. So adverse drug reactions are relatively rare. Okay, relatively rare. This is also they are not going to access adverse drug reaction. Hyperglycemia that we have already discussed earlier. Antagonist effect of the insulin. That is the what is that? That is they inhibit the hepatic gluconeogenesis and the enhances the they inhibit the stimulates the hepatic gluconeogenesis and the inhibits the peripheral reuptake of the tissue by the peripheral tissues. Okay, and given by the injection. So one of the problem could be the pain at the site of the injection and the lipodystrophy at the site of the injection. Sometimes may cause the lipodystrophy and the fluid retention and the edema. It is believed that it is exact mechanism, not growth hormone deficiency results the dehydration because of the loss of the extracellular fluid, basically in the interstitial tissues and the plasma. So when the growth hormone is given, so there's a restore of the fluids in the extracellular fluid and the interstitial tissues. So excessive because of the overdose of when they are given for the longer duration, they may result the fluid retention. Fluid retention and the edema. Okay, so adverse generally they are the well tolerated. Adverse drug reactions are relatively rare. Hyperglycemia that we have already discussed, pain at the site of the injection, lipodystrophy because of the pain at the site at the site of the injection, and the fluid retention and the edema, and the physiological secretion of the growth hormone. Okay, we have still some slide left. Right? We have still some slide left that will require the 15 minutes. So we will come again. So because it will be now after less than 1 minute is remaining to upgrade again. We will come again. Right? For 15 minutes we will further we will continue our lecture today. Is there any confusion with it? Can you see the slide? Adverse drug reaction.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Is there any confusion with this slide? Although this slide is not that much important, is there any confusion with this slide? Should I continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now Okay, indication we have already. Now the growth hormone antagonist. Growth hormone antagonist. Okay, growth hormone antagonist. Okay, so the growth hormone, the antagonist of the growth hormone, the antagonist of the growth hormone at the receptor side. At the receptor side, they call the growth hormone antagonist. The antagonist of the growth hormone at the receptor side. So that called the that reduce the effect of the growth hormone. They are called the growth hormone antagonist. They are called the growth hormone antagonist. Only limited therapeutic clinical application. Okay, the therapeutic application of the growth hormone antagonists are there. So what are the growth hormone antagonists? Growth hormone antagonists are commercially prepared commercially prepared drugs which are used to produce antagonist effect at the growth hormone receptors at the target tissue to inhibit the further growth of the body, to inhibit the further growth of the body. Okay, so when they are necessary we will discuss about that. Okay, so first of all, what are the preparations? The preparations are the somatostatin, octreotide, sandostatin, and the pagvisomit. Somatostatin, octreotide, sandostatin, and the pagvisomit. Among these, only remember two drugs. They are the somatostatin and the octreotide. They are the most commonly used preparation. Okay, somatostatin, octreotide. Okay, we know that the somatostatin is the growth hormone releasing hormone, the growth hormone inhibitory hormone, So their commercial preparation is also out. Among somatostatin and the octreotide is the most commonly used. The somatostatin nowadays they are not used because of their certain limitation. We will discuss about that. Okay, the preparations are the somatostatin, octreotide, sandostatin, and the pagvisomit. At least remember two drugs, that is the somatostatin and the octreotide. Okay, so what is the somatostatin? We know about that the somatostatin is the growth hormone growth hormone release inhibiting hormone. Okay, they are the growth hormone release inhibiting hormone. They primarily inhibit the secretion of the growth hormone and the growth hormone releasing hormone. They primarily the secretion of the growth hormone and the growth hormone releasing hormone. Okay, they also inhibit the secretion of the other than the secretion of the growth hormone from the anterior growth hormone releasing hormone from the hypothalamus. The secretion of the thyroid stimulating curve from the anterior pituitary lobe, and the insulin from the pancreas, and the gastrin from the GIT, and the gastrin from the G cells of the duodenum, Okay, so somatostatin, they are the growth hormone release inhibiting hormone. That primarily inhibit the secretion of the growth hormone and the growth hormone releasing hormone from the anterior pituitary lobe and the hypothalamus, respectively. Other than the inhibition of the growth hormone and the growth hormone releasing hormone, they also inhibit the release of the thyroid stimulating hormone from the anterior pituitary gland and the anterior pituitary lobe of the pituitary gland, and the insulin from the pancreas, and the gastrin from the G cells of the GIT. Okay, at least remember they inhibit the growth hormone, releasing hormone. Other things not necessary. Not okay. Should I continue?
Yes, sir.
Now, somatostatin, limited therapeutic effect. The reason is it has very short half-life of the 1 to 3 minutes. Okay, because of that reason, it inhibits the insulin secretion from the pancreas. So when they inhibit the secretion of the insulin from the pancreas, what will happen? Insulin will be able to clear the excessive glucose present in the blood immediately after taking the meal. That may result the hyperglycemia. Okay, it has got very short half-life, 1 to 3 minutes, hence limited therapeutic effect. Okay, so if their preparations are, they're short half, they are immediately, they are within the 3 minutes, they are eliminated outside the body. Within 3 minutes, they are eliminated outside the body. So that is the reason they have the limited therapeutic effect. Hyperglycemia is the main problem because insulin secretion is inhibited. Should I continue? Somatostatin is not therapeutically this somatostatin is not significant. Okay, because of it has got the very short half-life. Okay, octreotide. Now this one is the important octreotide. This is also the somatostatin analog. Okay, this is also the somatostatin analog. Growth hormone antagonist. Long-acting analog of somatostatin. of the somatostatin. We know that the limited therapy short half, but the octreotide is the preparation that have got the long-acting somatostatin. This is a long-acting analog of the somatostatin. Okay, then inhibits the release of the growth hormone and the growth hormone releasing hormone from the pituitary lobe, and the growth hormone releasing that's from the hypothalamus. Okay, octreotide, they are 45 times more potent than the somatostatin for inhibiting the growth hormone secretion. Now, this is also reason 45 times more potent than the somatostatin for inhibiting the growth hormone secretion. Okay, this is the clinical significant. Number one is the long acting, and second is the 45 times more potent than the somatostatin for inhibiting the growth hormone secretion. But only twice as potent in reducing the insulin secretion. Only twice. 45 times more potent than the somatostatin for inhibiting the growth hormone secretion, but two more potent for reducing the insulin secretion from the pancreas. Okay, so important thing to be remembered here is they are the long acting analog of somatostatin, so their function is similar to that of the somatostatin, and they are the 45 times more potent than the somatostatin inhibiting the growth hormone secretion. Okay, I think everything is clear here. Should I continue?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
another indications. Okay, indications. So when the growth hormone should be given, number one thing, two things, when there's an excessive, when there's the condition, when there's the disease, that results the excessive secretion of the growth hormone. When there are the disease, there are the diseases that results the excessive secretion of the growth hormone, that resulting to some symptoms, that resulting to some sign and the symptoms, So what is excessive secretion of the growth hormone? So excessive growth of the body will be there. Excessive growth of the body will be there. So that conditions are called the acromegaly and the gigantism. That are called the acromegaly. So we will discuss about that, the acromegaly and the gigantism. So number one thing is the when there's a disease like the pituitary tumors, when there's a disease like the pituitary tumor, when there are the disease like the pituitary tumors of the pituitary gland, or the carcinoid syndrome, that is because there's a collection of the disease, collection of the symptoms because of the carcinoid tumor. Carcinoid tumor is the tumor of the neuroendocrine cells of the GIT tract, small intestine, cecum, appendix. That's called the carcinoid syndrome, and the G cells of the duodenum. When there's a of the G cells of the duodenum, that's called the gastrinoma. When pituitary tumor is there, carcinoid syndrome is there, gastrinoma is there. These are the diseases. That is excessive secretion of the growth hormone. That's symptoms. So one of the symptoms may be the diarrhea will be there, or some other things like that. This joint pain will be there. So many symptoms are there. So that is the reason. We need to give the growth hormone exogenously to reduce the further secretion of the or the release of the growth hormone in those diseases. Okay. So this is the symptoms of the excessive growth hormone secreting diseases like the in the condition like the pituitary tumors, syndrome, and gastrinoma. Okay. Other than this, okay, acromegaly and the gigantism. Okay, again, same acromegaly and the gigantism. Acromegaly. What's the acromegaly and the gigantism? Okay, in gigantism, number one is the condition. There is excessive secretion of the growth. On both conditions, there is excessive secretion of the growth hormone, acromegaly and the gigantism. Okay. So what happened in the gigantism? In gigantism, there's an excessive secretion of the growth hormone during the childhood. When the epiphyseal bone plate is open. During the childhood. While the acromegaly, there is the excessive secretion of the growth hormone in adulthood. During the adulthood, when the epiphyseal growth plate is fused. Okay. So the basic difference between the gigantism and the acromegaly. In both the condition, acromegaly and the gigantism, excessive growth of the body. Number one, excess of the body or the height of the body will be there. Okay. In both of the condition, excessive growth hormone secretion will be there. But what happened? Growth hormone, we can say insulin like growth factor. Okay, insulin like growth factor 1. Okay, and in both the condition, gigantism occurs in childhood when there's excessive secretion of the insulin like growth factor 1. But when there is a no fusion of the epiphyseal bone plate. But in acromegaly, it occurs during the adulthood when there's a epiphyseal growth plate is completely fused. When the epiphyseal growth plate is completely fused. Okay, I will give the in this open dekhonchu picture पण dekhonchu acromegaly gigantism ko. Okay, other than the okay, this is the picture. This is the figure of. So this is the case of the great Khali, one of the wrestler, about acromegaly. He is suffering from the disease that's called the acromegaly. Okay, what happened in the acromegaly? Excessive secretion of the insulin like growth factor 1 and growth hormone, and during the adulthood, when the epiphyseal growth plate is completely fused, and this one is the case of the gigantism. This one is the case of we can say in both the condition excessive growth is there. The condition growth hormone is excessively secreted, but the difference is that this acromegaly happens during the childhood when the epiphyseal growth plate bone is epiphyseal growth plate bone is not fused. Sorry, this it occurs during the adulthood. Acromegaly happens during the adulthood when the epiphyseal growth plate is completely closed or fused, while the gigantism when the epiphyseal growth plate is still open during the child. Okay, so these are the cases of the acromegaly and the gigantism. Okay, now other growth hormone secreting pituitary tumors of the acromegaly and the gigantism, octreotide is also used for controlling the bleeding oesophageal varices. So what is the oesophageal varices? Oesophageal varices is a dilatation of the veins or the blood vessels. Dilatation of the veins or the blood vessels beneath the mucosa of the oesophagus. Beneath the oesophagus. It is the one of the complication of the portal hypertension. That is the cirrhosis of the liver. One of the complication of the portal hypertension that leads to the cirrhosis of liver, and that to the oesophageal varices. So what happened in the oesophageal varices? There is a dilatation of the blood vessels beneath the mucosa of the oesophagus. So because of the excessive dilation, sometimes what happens, there is a rupture of the blood vessels that may result the upper GI bleeding, upper gastrointestinal tract bleeding. So how this octreotide controls the bleeding during the oesophagus by reducing the mucosal blood flow due to the local vasoconstriction effect, because of the local vasoconstriction effect. Okay, so number one indicates the reduces the symptoms of the excessive growth hormone secreting the pituitary tumors, carcinoid syndrome, and adenoma, acromegaly, gigantism, and it controls the bleeding in the oesophageal varices by reducing the mucosal blood flow due to the local vasoconstriction. Okay, dose is not necessary. Okay, that is it. Route of the administration is necessary. Subcutaneous route. If you 50 to 200 micrograms subcutaneously every 8 hourly. Okay, important thing is the route of the administration. Dose is not necessary. Okay, these are the indications are the important. Now the adverse drug reaction again, that is not significant, but they may cause the abdominal pain, nausea, and the steatorrhea. Steatorrhea means the excessive presence of the fat in the stool is called the steatorrhea. It's called the steatorrhea. Okay, and the gallstone, formation of the gallstone, rarely, not commonly, rarely, due to the bile stasis, usually used for the more than the 6 months. Okay, these are the adverse drug reaction: abdominal pain, nausea, steatorrhea, and the gallstone. Abdominal pain, nausea, steatorrhea, and gallstone. Okay, only the important thing is the indications here, not the adverse drug reaction, but the indications. Okay, where they are used: acromegaly and the gigantism. Which drugs are used? That's the octreotide. Okay. Okay, other than this, sandostatin and the pegozamin, these are not important. They are the new drug. Okay, everything is the same. Slow release formulation of the octreotide. Slow release formulation of the octreotide. They are also the formulation of the octreotide, but they are slowly released. Administration in terms of at 4 weeks interval, 20 to 40 milligram, and the pegozamin, they are the growth hormone receptor antagonists for the treatment of the acromegaly. Okay, their mechanism of action is the antagonist effect on the peripheral receptor inhibits the effect of the endogenous growth hormone. They act on the peripheral receptors. Okay, that's not important. Just remember the sandostatin, the pegozamin, name of the drug. Also, they are the newer preparation growth hormone antagonist. Okay. Thank you. Any confusion?